live.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning, Dr. Laura?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I am just doing awesome, doing great. It's a little chilly here, which is nothing compared to what you guys. We always have to have the weather report, right?
What is a little chilly in Vegas? What does that mean?
Let's say probably 40.
40? That'll
So
be
I know you're
a
hoping
high
it'll
of
get to
40.
40. Hey, Kathy, good morning. Like,
Yes.
hey, glad to see you right on the dot at 7:30 this morning. Yes, yes. And I'm seeing you in the feed. So that is awesome. Thank you very much. Um, for those of you, you're going to have, if you are tuning in out there and you haven't approved, you have to just do a little, yes, it's okay for them to show your name. So we know who you are. Good morning. Kansas City.
Good morning, Karen.
Yeah, Kansas City is definitely represented today. So love that. And Karen, thank you. I got my card in the mail. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's so sweet of you to do. My word for the year is speak. And, I think that covers for me, it's speaking truth, being real, speak out, whatever God, puts on my heart to speak out about, to speak, to make a difference in people's lives, speak to share the word of God, so speak. My just looking at this year is the world to just step up and speak out, so maybe it should have been speak out, but that was 2 words, so I picked one.
You can always change it. Nobody will ever know.
That is true. Well, those of us that follow on here, and I think that's true. That's a very good thing to remind people. Sometimes you get into maybe the year and you think, because there's several words that keep going through my mind, and a couple of them are ones that I've used in prior years, which is okay. You can double up. There's no real set thing here. You kind of do what you want, but it's
Exactly.
okay if you feel like you want to change your word or whatever. Debbie Miller, good morning. Now, Debbie, I don't know where you are.
She's in Kansas City also.
Oh, she's Kansas
We've
City.
got our Kansas City groupies.
Woohoo! I love that. I love that. I tell you, the week that we hit over 300 was amazing. It's like, oh my gosh, that was so cool.
I know. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So I am going to alert you guys that over these next few weeks, I will be making some changes. And so just be watching. I'll also be letting you know when we resume back having our lunch gatherings together, whether Zoom or live. It'll still be a while before we go live into a restaurant, because a lot of people are still a little concerned about that. I happen to be going to restaurants and really enjoying it. But just kind of keep on the watch over these next few weeks, and certainly by, I would say, the beginning of February, but should have a pretty good idea of how we're going to line things out for at least the next 6 months. So we may go in 6 months segments. Oh, what a thought. Smaller steps.
Yes, that's a great idea.
I think, so I think that just sets us up right away to get into our topic this morning. Dr. Laura, as you think about things, and I know that you and I really, it's so interesting because, a year ago we didn't know each other, or not to any much degree.
Barely.
Yeah, we knew of each other and who we were, but now, like, we're friends. So this is so cool.
Yes.
I love that. But so I know that on many subjects we are really right on the same page, that we really think a lot. Our faith base, how we believe and stuff is the same or similar, which makes it nice. And I think that's part of what makes connections happen. It's finding that common interest. When as Christians when we have that's our biggest common interest right there. So that really just, right. We're already all good, right?
Right.
Hey, Allison, good morning. Good morning. It's nice to see you. Happy New Year. And Laura, I forgot to ask you. So on your page, can you see the stream?
Yes, I can see the screen and I can see everybody that's making comments. So that's
you can. Okay, cool.
Yes.
So this platform is Be Live, and the only thing that is not good about this one so far, as I'm doing this comparison, is that Jennifer can't use it. So that the weeks that Jennifer can join us, we will switch over to something else. But right
Okay.
now, I'm really think I'm liking Be Live the best because we can so easily see the chat box, and I love seeing y'all's names. It's so great.
It's
And
great.
Grace, yeah, Grace, good morning too. So as we talk, here it is a new year. We've talked about, having a new attitude, go get a new hairdo, go, do something new, make a new way of eating maybe. So when you think about that, what and the coming from the standpoint of, do you have to just jump in and change your whole life at one time? So what is your advice? What do you think about that?
I would love for things to happen quickly, like if you could say, I want to lose weight and lose it all by tomorrow, wouldn't that be great? But
Don't
unfortunately,
you have a magic pill for that? Isn't there a magic pill for that?
no.
Darn.
In our culture of quick fixes, it doesn't work. That's why people are in diets every year. Did you notice that?
Yes. Yeah.
No,
And they're calling COVID-19 because everybody's put on like 19 pounds over
yeah, the pandemic poundage is what we call it.
Yeah.
So no, it's like what you were saying, small steps. And I think that's, not only diets, but everything in life, really, when you think about it. Set small goals, one step at a time. Um, we're as Americans, I think in general, we're very impatient with having that quick fix.
Yeah.
I see it a lot in my business with the health piece. Somebody is pretty sick and they want to get better by next week. And it's like, it didn't take you, a week to get here. So it's not going to take you a week to get out of it, but that's kind of our mentality in a lot of ways, don't you think?
I do. I do. And our attention span keeps getting smaller and smaller. And the TV, you just click between the channels. I don't do that much because it drives me a little insane, but Bill does. And we do. We watch a 30-minute show or something, and they've resolved half their life in that 30-minute show, right? So why can't our life be like that? I think that's what we
Right.
subconsciously think. We sort of set ourselves up to think, well, gee, I've been on this. I've been changing my eating for the last 2 weeks. Why haven't I lost 10 pounds? Or why am I not feeling better, like you're saying, from a health standpoint?
There's so many moving pieces, to everything in life. Health, of course, well, all of it.
Mhm.
Business, there's so many caveats, and there's who you know and the work you've done before you even start, and then your projections and your goals, and what the market is doing, and if you're Zoom calling or if you are a storefront, there's so many details. But I think, in my opinion, and what I teach is, one small step at a time. Changing a mindset is a biggie that I do. And that I have noticed 70 to 90% of my clients, when they change their mindset, then they start seeing changes. Then they start seeing positive changes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
Because if your mind is still saying you can't do it, or you're still those old tapes are going through your head,
stories in your head. Yeah.
you will never change. I mean, it really does. The mindset totally has to change. And so what I would recommend to y'all in that regard is a way to start that change is, well, for instance, those of you who are on this morning or listening later in the day, what you're doing right now, listening to something that can help you think differently. So as we're talking about mind change, it's, what are you putting into your mind? How are you thinking? Do you think, oh, I don't need that? Or are you thinking, maybe they have something to offer? Maybe I could just shift one thing, one way of thinking. Because once we start making, my brother gave this example one time, and I thought it was really good. We had someone in our family who was really in a pretty desperate situation, and everything that was happening to her was just spiraling downhill, just uh, from her business, everything. And my brother, we were having a family meeting, and my brother said to her, all you need to do is to stop the drill. Think of a drill going downward and just stop that and begin to shift it, just first you have to stop it, because if you're in a downward spiral, it's going to keep going down until you stop it and reverse it. But you can't reverse it until you make that shift, until you make that stop. And to me, that's so visual, because you can just see that drill bit going down, and then it stops and reverses and begins to do differently. But you can't just keep going down or down the old path, for instance, and expect that the change is going to happen.
No, it's like you say, small steps, one step at a time. And that is, like Grace is saying, the story in your mind, the stories in your head. It takes time, but even if you do, how do you wake up? That would be one, how do you wake up? Do you wake up thankful and grateful, or are you going, oh, another day, it's cold outside, you know? And I think this whole pandemic piece, from my viewpoint, was a good shakeup in one sense that it really made myself, speaking, aware of really what counts, and it's the simple things. We were so busy and had so many routines and were go, go, go all the time that we missed the simplicity of even just being together with family, or, noticing a flower blooming, or, enjoying the day outside, having lunch out on a porch. It could be anything, but
Yeah.
we miss it because we've got, well, you've got a story in your head that you have to, uh, I stack my appointments. I'm a go, go, go. I'm a action person. So I used to stack my appointments, and I'd leave 15 minutes in between. So I'd be rushing. So if I was off, then the whole day would be that much more. I never had time to stop and just, even take a break. Lunch was 20 minutes in my mouth in the car on the way to the next appointment, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even just those small little steps of, today the sun's shining. Thank you, God, the sun's shining. Thank you for my life. Thank you for my job. Thank you for my family. It's starting off on the right foot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It really is. And I think that, and everybody wakes up differently. Some people are like, man, they are on from the moment their brain wakes up. That's my husband. He wakes up, he's not going to go back to sleep. He's going to just get up and start his day. Not me. I like to meditate.
Favorite moment?
That's when I do my prayer time, and I just lay there, and that's a difference. So no matter what kind of person you are when you wake up, but if you're a slow waker up, or that thing, being thankful, and it's like, thank you for another day. Whose life can I touch today? How can I be a blessing to somebody else?
Right.
Because when you start from that standpoint, the whole rest of the day, you're looking at how you can be a blessing. You're looking at how you can make a positive change in somebody's life, or just, I tell you, our little church is just in suffering right now. We has two locations. One's downtown and one's out west in a strip center. And our west location, where I go and lead worship, is mostly an older congregation. I have to say, I'm one of the younger ones. So that just tells you. We have a couple of young families, bless their hearts for coming, even with all of us that are older. But we're very close knit. But one of our really strongholds, sweet people, the couple, Nikki and Fred, we just love them. They literally, they will have been married 70 years. Married. Wow. 70 years. They're both in their 90s.
Wow.
And they're having some real health challenges. They both had COVID. They're over COVID now, but they're in a rehab to get back home. But we've had several things, and somebody that had a stroke last night, and several other people. And it's like, oh, so in those times when you see that happening to your friends and stuff, and I know many of you have friends or family that either have COVID or suffering by there's still all the other illness and all the other things happening, like this man in our congregation that just had a stroke yesterday. What we call the normal things that we're used to, those still are going on. And I think really looking at how can we make a difference to those people? Bill went yesterday and just dropped off a prescription to someone who has COVID in our church. And and these are the people that haven't been to church. Okay. These are ones that haven't come because some of them had health issues. I don't know why I'm going on about this, but anyway, instead of looking at what am I trying to say here? There's ways that we can pray for people and ways to look at things of how can you make a difference, and if you wake up thinking like that, then you're not going to be down like boo-hoo, poor me.
Yeah. And it's, we say it's easy step by step to change, just change. It can be, it's hard to be vulnerable and it's hard to look at your own stuff. And a lot of people sometimes have a hard time with getting rid of memories or the old junk or cleaning out the stinking thinking. And it's easy for me to say the other side of all of that is that the freedom is so worth it. I've been through that, so I can say that from my own experience, but it's still scary. And that's where that small step at a time, even if you try one, I always equate it to diets. I tell a lot of people, caffeine in moderation, which is hard. Okay, so take away 1 cup a day, and then a couple of weeks later, take away another cup. It's those little pieces, and it's all up here. You can be successful if you can get this,
Absolutely.
together.
Yeah. And I think, again, sometimes we think it's the first of the year, so I'm going to lose my 19 COVID pounds. I'm going to exercise 7 days a week for an hour. I'm going to, it's like not. This whole list of all these things you think you want to do, and that's all great, but it does start like the first step, walk out the door.
Well, and when you have, if you want to call it, when you fail, what do you do with that? What success is getting up and doing it again. Failure is staying down and wallowing in it.
Yeah.
Really, when you think about it.
Yep, that really is true. And for to take it over, you alluded to it a minute ago, from a business standpoint, because we talk a lot about like the personal, because first of all, we're a complete being, mind, soul, body, spirit. We're one complete being. And to me, what's exciting is I find that once I begin to make change or improvement, whatever, in any area, it affects all of my areas. So whether it's I start walking, 15 minutes, a couple of days a week, just that amount begins to encourage me to walk a little bit longer or add on an extra day. If it's drinking water, I would say that's a good start if you're not already. And I know many on this show are on water and do well. I find that I'm very consistent at being inconsistent. I've told y'all that before. And I'm getting better every day at getting more consistent. But just changing if you don't even drink a glass of water, drink one, and just say, okay, so whatever you feel like you want to do that, drink one, just start. And then you can gradually add to it until you're up to where you don't really want the others. I think I've shared this story before. I don't know, Dr. Laura, if you and I were on at the time, but this has been years ago, actually, before we ever left Kansas City area. I was probably drinking, I hate to even say it now because it seems like, really, Delinda, you were doing that? 6 to 8 Diet Cokes every day. And I just might I'd go and get Diet Coke. Go ahead. And finally, it's like, boy, Delinda, this is awful for you. So I began playing a game with myself. And I kind of have to do that. I have a little competitive spirit even within myself. And so, okay, when you've had your water for the day, then you can treat yourself with a Diet Coke. Well, pretty soon I got to where I didn't even want the Diet Coke at the end of the day. But it took time. I had to start by drinking 1 glass of water. So it's what is it that you want different? Like what if you've picked out your word for the year, what does that word stand for you? Why did you pick it out? So what's one thing you could do today that will take you one step closer to what that intention is? Because your word is about what your intention is for the year. So thinking really, and I love the phrase of what is your next best step. You don't have to
Yeah.
know what are my steps 10 from now, but what's your next best step? And if you
Yeah.
go through the day and the week and the month, your next
You're,
best step.
you're successful. You got up. You're successful because there's opportunity as soon as you stepped out of your bed, and who can you touch with the opportunity? But that soul, body, spirit, the soul is the mind, the way we think. The body, of course, is the body. The spiritual piece is where we get our purpose and connection. And
Mhm.
like you said, it all ties together. When one is off, the whole thing is off. If we're not thinking correctly, they are attaching in science sinking thinking, negative thoughts, bad attitudes to cancer, liver cancer, and this and that, which is amazing when you think about it. But it makes sense if your thought, your brain, and your body are all connected. But yeah, one little step at a time. Even just that, hey, I was successful. I got out of bed, or I got out of bed, and I didn't lay in bed and waste time or whatever. I'm kind of like I wake up. I some days I tell my friend I'm sometimes going. They ask me, what time did you get up? And I say 7:30, 7:40, 7:50, 8 o'clock. you know, um, and then there's other days I just jump out of bed at yeah, I'm not consistent on that, but so, if you're not, it's all the way you think. Thank you, God, that I'm alive for today. Thank you, God, the sun is out. Thank you, God, I can impact somebody else's life by, just being there, like you're saying, reaching out, helping somebody, because that's really, you get more joy and more purpose and more, for me, it's, it's almost like a high when you help somebody else.
Mm-hmm. 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 And
So
I think too, it it gets your, when you take that focus, there's the one side, where we are always encouraging people to take care of yourself, to make that difference, and self-care. Okay, that's one little thing over here. But there's the other thing of what you're saying, as you reach out and you help somebody else, or you try to see if, whether, and like Jennifer's always saying, reach out and make that phone call or send that card to someone, or whatever it is you can do. When you're doing that, that giving of yourself actually lifts your spirit. I mean, like, we
oh
get the
yeah.
blessing. We're hoping it's making a blessing to them, but it's blessing us at the same time. And then I think, it all twirls around together, because that becomes part of our self care as we
Oh,
reach out
definitely.
to other people. I mean, it's kind of
Yep.
cool how it all blends together there.
Yes. And we may not be aware of it, but when you're in a negative mood or you're in a down mood, and we're not walking into rooms with people a lot lately, but I will, even on a Zoom call, that pulls everybody else down because everybody can sense it. You could be faking it and still people are sensing it, So
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, then that's really a good point, because I think even on Zoom, even on these kind of calls, you really can tell those that are engaged in what's going on and those that are not. It's so those of you, if you're usually not engaged on those calls, just know the person who's leading the thing can tell, even though your picture might be this little tiny picture there, you know, it can tell, like when you veer off to do something else, and that is
oh, I
kind of part of
personally
the
love
Zoom
when people
etiquette.
are eating. I love when people are eating in front of the screen. That drives me crazy. But that's just me. It's just like, ah.
Well, I have my tea. I'm gonna have my cup, my little.
Yeah.
My cup this
You're
morning
not
says,
you're
"The
not
joy
chewing
of the
and licking your
Lord."
fingers.
Oh, I know, and it's like messy. Like, okay, wipe your face. So my cup this morning says, "The joy of the Lord is your strength."
Yeah.
Nehemiah 8:10. I can't even read. So yeah, that's the thing too. So
But yeah, and that's, we do feel down. We're not perfect. We're not saying, "Oh, we got to be perfect." And one little step, we're all human. We all have our issues. We all have to work through our issues. But it's like, give yourself grace. Give yourself a break. Um hopefully things don't have to be done yesterday. And it's, and I'm looking at it as business piece. It takes a while to build it. And then it also takes a lot to maintain, and it's step by step. People are not successful overnight. I mean, if they are, we're missing the whole boat. But it's that's where you get those commercials you see on wherever it is. People are like, "Oh, make money and it was easy and blah blah." No, they're making money off of you because you think like, well, if it's that easy, I'll try it. No, step by step.
Yeah. And usually those instant success stories often have a big backstory.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
it is all the steps that we've taken all through our lives up to this very point, wherever you are in your life, every decision, every choice, every step you've taken in your life has brought you to this place. So many of those, overnight successes is because of what they've gone through that's brought them to this place that enabled to take that. So it might be that they did great on this particular thing, but they were learning in all of that in the background to do that. And sometimes it has to do with the same story, but sometimes it doesn't. And I think that's
And a lot of times too, when you think about it, when people go, "Oh, I should have done this 10 years ago," maybe you weren't ready 10 years ago. Maybe you didn't run into the right people. Maybe you didn't have enough knowledge. It doesn't necessarily mean that it couldn't have happened, but things happen for a reason at the right time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's funny though, because I've had several conversations with the Lord about that.
Yeah. Yeah, you and me both.
And then it's like, okay, so because even that 2011 and 2012 were a big shift for us. We had big financial issue, but not only that, I was in the middle. So I think it was right around, 2011, 12, because during, which is weird when I think back on it, we were going through this huge financial thing, which many of you know, and I've talked about a few times. But at the same time was when I was making the major shift from going from a singer to a speaker. And of course, I had been speaking all of my life, but I didn't, like I said before, I hadn't.
Kathy reminded us she was instantly successful after 13 years of hard work.
Absolutely, absolutely, so true. And I think
you can
if
sell
you
that.
look at any story, there is always all that hard work and stuff that's happening, in the background. So, so I think that as you look at these things, sometimes, and I always encourage people not to go back to the past to see how, whatever, to go dwell back in there. But when you go back and you look at your life and make yourself a timeline, I mean, this is a really great exercise to do, and begin to just look at those important times. So it could be the weddings and the children and that, but also those pivot times when when you went bankrupt, when you lost everything, when you had to sell your, back maybe during that 2008, 10, whatever it was, when so many houses went upside down, that shift in our country. Go back and pay attention to all those, the ups and the downs, because those are crucial just to look at and say, and then look at, what was your walk with the Lord then? Can you see where God was leading you through there? Can you see how he was holding you and carrying you to the next place? Because then you begin to see that consistency that's in your life and see the patterns. Look at the patterns of your life. And some of the patterns may not be good. And when you look at it and say, you know what? I've done this same pattern over and over and over. I think it's time to stop that. It might be a pattern you need to change, or it could be a pattern of that, you know what? I didn't know that. We talked a little bit about that last week. I didn't know that about myself. This is something I do that pretty well. So it's really can be a very positive thing to look at your journey and then say, okay, so Lord, we've done this, we've walked this far. So, hey, I'm for it. What's next? Let's just go.
Well, and like you say, I look at things, good or bad experience. There is a lesson in it, good or bad. And what
Yes.
do we pull from good or bad? And like you say, we are right now in this moment the sum of all the good and bad of the past. I mean, that makes us who we are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when I have said to God, okay, like I'm ready, Lord, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready for the next step.
I was
And
ready yesterday. Yeah.
sometimes He doesn't agree.
No, but he's never late. He's
He's
never
never,
late.
he's never
He
late.
just had
Sometimes
been
I'm
done for
early,
a
right?
human. Yeah.
No, Delinda, you have a few more lessons you need to learn here, or you have a few
Yeah.
more skills you need to get into place.
Yes.
And and that that really was back in that 2012 time. Was that I mean I thought I was really ready. I'd done everything, and it was like no. But when it was time, it was right. So his timing
Exactly.
is always perfect. Um, and the thing that's so cool is that he knows us so well. He knows what we need when we need
Right.
it, and if we'll just quit trying to control things, and there are a
Yeah.
few of us that have a little of those control issues. And there's
We're
one,
only responsible for our response and how we react to the
yes,
things around us, really.
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so I really encourage you guys to look at your life, see, look at those patterns and where are some, you may have some patterns you need to change because if you keep on doing what you're doing, you're going to keep on getting what you got,
Right.
and the definition of sanity is keep doing the same thing over and
Yeah.
over and expecting different results. So if you want new results, if you want something different in 2021 in the future, start taking one step today,
One little
and then
step.
what's your next best step tomorrow? Because I promise you, if you look at your life that way, this time next year, you will be able to look back and say, "Oh, wow, look what's done." And that whether this is your personal life, your physical body, your spiritual life, or your business, you can be huge steps. You could go from here to here, but only if you take a step today. And it's just one step every day, something to make that change, to stop that drill bit from going down to coming back up. So
Exactly. That's a good visual. Yes.
it is
That's
for
a good
me. I'm
visual
not sure that might not catch everybody else, but for me, it worked.
It's a good visual because we've been working on our basement, so it involves
Oh,
drills and
so that works for you. That's great. All right. So let's see. Any other comments? Yes, I know, Kathy, because I know how you're not in that
yes.
category, right? I didn't want to call any names out.
No, Kathy, no control issues there. Okay.
Oh gosh, it's crazy. Well, you guys, we are at the top of the hour. Let me say a couple things. Next week, so next week is my birthday. I set it up for you all last week. Like I said, this is my birthday month. So I've had 2 birthday lunches already with friends.
Awesome.
And then we leave for Miami. We're actually going to Palm Beach, I think is where we are, which is like an hour and a half.
West Palm?
West Palm,
Yep.
somewhere like that. I'm not great at geography. I just know it looks like a beautiful resort, and I'm going.
It
And
is. My grandparents used to live there. It's beautiful.
oh, good. So, and I want this. Kathy actually asked me. She said, "So, are you going to share some of your pictures from your trip when you go next week?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. Should I?" And she said, "Yeah, because."
We live vicariously through you.
And if anything, to be an encouragement to you guys, again, and I know we're at the top of the hour, but I want to encourage you to take steps away from fear. It's like don't let the world put you in a state of fear. Our God is greater than this. And I'm not saying go out and be crazy. We're going to still social distance. We've checked now. I guess I don't know if the whole Florida is, but that area where we're going, they're really not even requiring masks out in the world. And in the hotel they are. And so, but we're not going to be in any groups. We're going to, walk out and sit out on the beach. That's what I'm going to love. Just sit on the beach, go to some restaurants, and the restaurants are doing social distancing. So we're not my kids, I know, are not on Facebook with this morning, but I know they're very concerned about us going. But, whether I figure if I go to a restaurant in Kansas City or a restaurant in Las Vegas or a restaurant in Miami, it's the same thing, so just, but I want y'all I want to encourage you to not live in fear and to, try it. If you're those, and unless you've got serious health issues, y'all know my heart. I would never want you to compromise. but I want you to realize that we can still live. And so I will post some pictures, and I am going to do my Tuesday morning show, but I'll be by myself because it may be on my phone out on the beach is kind of what I'm thinking. And it's hard to do that, to have a dual interview while we're doing there. But yeah, so I will share some things while I'm gone as a way of encouraging you and that life is still out there. We can still go and we can still do things. Maybe we have to be more careful. Maybe we have to wear a mask. It's, you know what? Hey, the mask is not the end of the world. Do I agree with it? Totally no. You know, can I breathe in it? Not very well. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to just choke myself, but I mean, just because it's hard for me, it's actually hard to breathe after a little while. But if that's the law, I'm going to go with it, you know. So do what you need to do to stay safe, but get out and do something. Take your dog if you're not even doing getting out of your house. Get out of the house, get some fresh air because you need it. Our body needs it, right?
Right. Yes. Well, happy birthday. And
thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is one of those.
Take me with you.
Say what?
Take me with you.
Oh, yes. Just pack your little suitcase and come on down. So, anyway, so we will be coming from there. Be watching, as I said, over the next few weeks. Not next week. I'm not going to be making any decisions next week, but I'm in the process of making some changes. So I'll keep you alert. Be watching for things, and go out this week and really look at where you can take that next best step. So do something different this week, whatever it is. If you haven't picked your word of intention, go do that and start seeing what is your intention for the year. My intention is to speak wherever and anywhere God opens the door, whether it's on Zoom or live or what. So what is yours and what can you do to do that? Any last thought?
One step at a time, even if some days it's just getting out of bed. Thank you, God, for getting me out of bed.
There you go. All righty. Well, everybody, remember that life is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. It is a choice. You know, if there is one message, if I'm thinking of mindset, Dr. Laura, if I could make that one difference to everybody's life, is if every woman, every man could realize that they actually have a choice. Because I hear people say, well, I just don't have a choice. Yes, you do. We have a choice on how we react and how we respond to everything around us. And that's where your victory comes. That's where your joy comes. And that's where abundance comes, is realizing, first of all, you do have a choice. And what choice do you want to make today? So go out this week, make one choice to make a step towards your intent and make a difference as you go. Thank you so much for being on with us today.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Safe travels. Bye-bye.
Okay.